Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Marquee Ballroom here at the MGM Grand, the site of today's UFC 202 weigh-in between Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor. Looks like Ireland has arrived today. But before we do that, we have time for the UFC 204 press conference. UFC 204, Saturday, October 8th, from the Manchester Arena in Manchester, England, as Britain's very first UFC champion, Michael "the Count" Bisping, defends against American combat sports icon Dan Henderson. Before we bring both guys out, let's take a closer look at the main event.
For years, Michael Bisping has been haunted by that highlight reel from UFC 100 where Dan Henderson brutally knocked him out.
This right here is revenge.
Normally, I'm not that way in fights. I know if the guy's out, I think that one was just to shut him up a little bit.
Dan landed that big right hand. That's all I remember. Fair play to the guy. He got me. He landed that second punch, which in my mind, there was no need for it.
It was just a reaction of mine to keep going until I was stopped, and it did feel good then.
The guy constantly mocks me with that. The public mock me with that. This is my first title defense, but for me, it's not about defending the title. I want revenge. I want to put him in his place and wipe that smug look off his face.
The fans wanted to see a rematch. He really had nothing to offer until he won that belt.
Dan Henderson has the kind of power where he can change the fight in an instant.
I appreciate you guys giving me that extra energy to keep on going and that extra drive.
It shall be done, the rematch, Michael Bisping and Dan Henderson.
Make no mistake about it, the belt is on the line, but this fight is all about revenge.
As a fighter, you want to go out there and right that wrong. Michael Bisping, he has the ability to erase that loss.
Look, Bisping's but he's a warrior and he's tough and he's going to hang in there.
Dan's had a great career. He's achieved many things, but the #1 goal people want to achieve in mixed martial arts is to be the UFC champion of the world. I am the UFC middleweight champion. He is not. There is a reason for that. I am the better fighter. I will prove that in this rematch. I will beat him. Lightning will not strike twice. I will knock out Dan Henderson. When he's unconscious, I'll give him another blow as well.
The long-awaited rematch, Saturday, October 8th. Tickets on sale September 9th. Without further ado, please welcome to the stage the champion, Michael Bisping, and the challenger, Dan Henderson.
What's up, guys?
All right, guys, before we get started, I'm going to announce the remaining schedule for 2016. The remaining schedule for 2016. So we talked about UFC 204 on Saturday, October 8th. After that event, on Saturday, October 15th, we go to Mall of Asia Arena in Manila, UFC Fight Night Lamas versus Penn. Tickets on sale now. Saturday, November 5th, it's UFC Fight Night Dos Anjos versus Ferguson from Arena Mexico City. Tickets on sale September 2nd. Saturday, November 12th, I know you guys are fired up about this. It's UFC 205 live from Madison Square Garden. Fight card and tickets information will be made available soon. Then, it is a doubleheader, 2 international cities on one night. From Belfast, Northern Ireland, on Saturday, November 19th, it's UFC Fight Night, live on Fight Pass. Tickets for that card on sale September 23rd. Later that night from Brazil, at a city we will announce here shortly, it's UFC Fight Night, live on FS1. We then move Saturday, November 27th, to the Rod Laver Arena in Melbourne, Australia for UFC Fight Night. That card will actually air here in the United States on FS1 on November 26th. Saturday, December 3rd, the Ultimate Fighter finale from Las Vegas as Demetrius Johnson defends his title against the winner of the season of The Ultimate Fighter, which premieres on Fox Sports 1, August 31st. Friday, December 9th, we continue our role in New York, UFC Fight Night live on Fight Pass from the Times Union Center in Albany, New York. Saturday, December 10th, UFC returns to Canada for UFC 206 live on pay-per-view from the Air Canada Centre in Toronto, Ontario. Tickets on sale October 6th. Saturday, December 17th, the UFC breaks in the brand new Golden One Center in Sacramento, California for a card live on Fox. And then we close out the year on a Friday, December 30th, UFC 207 live on pay-per-view from tomorrow night's venue, the T-Mobile Arena. With that being said, let's go ahead and get the first question. John, if you go ahead and stand up for us.
Dave, I guess just to be clear real quick so we all know, that's it, right? No more surprises or more events. That's the
Take a bow, Dave. That was good.
Thank you. No, that's it, John.
Okay.
But don't be surprised.
All right.
No, that's it.
Fantastic. All right, we'll start with the champ, please. Mike, obviously, you've worked a long time to get here. Want to know, just how have the last months played out versus your expectations? How's it compared to what you thought it would be?
Yeah, life is good. I'm the champ. People call me champ, and, you know, it feels good. I'm not going to lie. Life is good. Shut the fuck up. Fuck it, I'll give you something to boo. When I knock this asshole out, you can fucking boo that. You can fucking boo that. Sit down. Come on. Quiet down, guys. We got a press conference.
Well, Mike, I mean, this fight makes a lot of sense for you, obviously.
Yes.
But it kind of came out of nowhere, but it does make sense to you. Let me ask you, how much has UFC 100 stuck in your mind over the years? I mean, how often do you think about that result?
You know, UFC 100 was a long time ago. I just recently watched that fight back, and I cringed watching it. It was a terrible performance. God bless Dan Henderson. He got the job done on that night. As we all know, he was cheating. He was on testosterone replacement therapy. But yet he's still fighting now. He is a marvel of modern science. The guy is cured. His testosterone levels remarkably came back up, and he's still able to continue. Him and Vitor Belfort, you know, check these guys out. They're amazing what their bodies have done. Yeah, Dan Henderson, I want to beat this guy. Of course, he knocked me out. It was good. But Dan Henderson couldn't beat Anderson Silva. Dan Henderson couldn't win a UFC title. Dan Henderson is famous for one thing. That's knocking me out at UFC 100. I made your career, Dan. And after UFC 204, that will be eradicated.
And Dan, if I could ask you, I mean, what does this fight mean for you? I mean, obviously there's the potential for history, the championship, but is it just that, or is there anything personal, especially when he's throwing out the things he's throwing out now?
No, for me, it's never been anything personal. Even the first time we fought, it's all about the sport, winning, and the belt for me. So honestly, it's never been anything personal. I've always respected him. He's a great fighter, and has stuck in there pretty well over the years and kept at it and improved. And you know, it's just all the other talking that I'm not a fan of.
Thanks. And Dave, just maybe if I could quickly for you, as a promotion, can you explain why this fight made sense? Because Dan has hinted that win or lose, he might walk away after this fight. And a lot of times it's kind of viewed that if a champion retires with the belt, it kind of devalues the next champion, that sort of thing. So why was that a risk the company was willing to take, and why did this fight make sense?
I mean, this was the perfect storm, John. When you talk about this fight, the new champion from Manchester, England, Michael Bisping, against a fighter he's wanted to avenge a loss for a long time. Dan's an icon in this sport, and at 46 years old, he's in a resurgence. So this was a fight that made a lot of sense for the local market we're going to. And John, let's be transparent here. Anytime there's bad blood, it always sells.
There's going to be some sore heads tomorrow.
Question for Mike. I don't know if you can hear.
I can hear.
You can hear?
Got ya.
Dan Henderson has said, Mike, that he's going to retire, win or lose. Do you believe him?
Listen, I've got no ill will towards Dan Henderson. You know, I wish him all the best. This isn't personal for me. This is business. But Dan Henderson is not going to win this fight. We all know this. He ain't going to win. He's a one-trick pony. He's got a right hand. He's old. He's slow. I'm too fast. I'm the better fighter. God bless him. Good for him. He's had a good career. We all know he ain't going to win this fight.
So you think this will be his last fight?
It will be his last fight for sure.
How do you feel about the fact that the main event fight will take place at around 4 a.m. local time?
We've done this before in Manchester, not the UFC, but boxing. Ricky Hatton fought Costa Zoo. You know, the place was buzzing. It was sold out. You know, it's good, it's cool. I mean, I get it. We've got to cater to the American audience. You know, it kind of sucks in some ways, but it's different. It's cool. I have no problem.
And one last thing, Chris Weidman said recently that he feels embarrassed telling people that you're the champion. of the division he was once champion. What's your response to that statement?
Yeah, I think Chris Weidman should be embarrassed that he got his ass kicked off Luke Rockhold, the guy that I knocked out in 2 minutes, incidentally. I think that's what he's embarrassed about. Chris Weidman, you know, I mean, for a guy that spouts on about Jesus and all this, he needs to take a good long look in the mirror because he's kind of acting like a dick these days. And Weidman, win a fight, and you'll get yours, don't worry.
Question for Dan Henderson. Dan, on the same night that Michael won the middleweight title, you finished Hector Lombard in one of the most spectacular finishes of your career. Did the manner in which you ended that fight answer any personal questions for you might have had about where your career was going or what you had left in the tank?
No, I mean, for me, I knew that I was always capable of doing that at any given time. It's just a matter of putting it together. You know, and Hector was a dangerous guy and has shown that in the past, so I was just very thankful to have it in that fashion. And, you know, I think a good part of the reason why this fight is happening is because I did that night, and Michael was able to knock out Luke Rockhold that night. It kind of stars had to align to make that happen, and I'm just thankful to have this opportunity at the belt again.
You've hinted that win or lose, this could be your last fight. As we sit here today, where are you at on that? Are you committed to that idea, or do you reserve the right to see how the fight plays out, take it from there?
No, I've said that win or lose, this is my last fight. So I'm very stuck on that. I have no desire to go on afterwards. Win or lose, obviously, I'd like to finish with that belt. That would be an ideal ending for me, but you know, I'm ready.
And one question for the champion. Michael, the first time you guys fought, that was all the way back at UFC 100. You started out the press conference by admitting yourself you thought it was a poor performance by yourself. How would the Michael Bisping of 2016 fight that fight differently back at UFC 100?
In that fight, I was very skittish. You know, I wasn't committing. I was on the back foot constantly. It was just a bad performance and a bad game plan. I was overtrained. Listen, you know, I'm not trying to discredit it. God bless him. Good for him. He got me. He got me good. You know, what can you say? It's part of history. Not bitter about it. You know, it is what it is. This is it's a tough sport that we're in. He got me good. And, you know, I get a chance for revenge.
Thank you.
Question for Dan. Dan, I want to build on that a bit. Let's say you catch Michael with a similar right hand that you did at UFC 100, and the referee is slow to dive in there as he was at UFC 100. Do you follow up with a flying forearm like you did back then, or do you let him be this time?
No, honestly, I've done that before and after him. It was nothing personal at all. It was no reason other than to make sure the fight was finished. There's been fights where I haven't followed up like that, and the fight went on, and you never want that to happen. And you don't know for sure how quickly a guy can recover. You know, obviously after the second one, I knew that it was going to be done, and I was getting up before the referee even came in. But, you know, it's just one of those things and one of the natures of the sport. You know, it's happened to me as well. You know, it is what it is.
Michael, follow up to that. Do you believe him? Do you believe what he's saying there?
Listen, in this sport, you keep going until the referee drags you off. I had no problem with it. It is what it is, you know. I mean, we signed up for this business. I got knocked out. He followed it up. You know, job well done. We can sit here and we can ponder as to whether or not he'll do it a second time. It ain't going to happen a second time. He ain't going to land shit. I'm going to be all over the place, too fast, pick him apart, finish him in the later rounds.
Yeah, follow up, Michael. Michael, how much do you think the support in Manchester is going to benefit you on fight night?
Every time I fought in the UK and in Manchester, the crowd have been absolutely fantastic, and I want to thank each and every one of them that's followed my career. Thank you, guys. Make some noise, and I expect no different this time. Listen, Henderson's, you know, he's a legend in this sport, so, you know, I'm expecting the MMA fans to give him some support as well, and rightly so. Yeah, of course, I'll be the favourite, and I'm excited for the atmosphere there.
Just one last one. This for Dave, actually. A lot of the talk back home has been about what's going to be the co-main event. Can you give us some idea of what we're looking at here? Are we looking at putting on another title fight, or is it just going to be another feature bout?
So right now, the fights, Jim, that are done, Vitor Belfort versus Gegard Mousasi as the co-main event. Ovince St. Preux versus Jimmy Manuwa. Stefan Struve versus Ruslan Magomedov. Andreado Martins versus Leonardo Santos. Brad Pickett versus Iori Alcantara. And Davey Grant versus Damian Stasiak. More fights to come over the next 7 to 10 days.
Thanks, Dave.
Hey guys, Ron Kruk with Inside MMA. I'd like to start with a question for Dan Henderson. Dan, you set the record straight. You said that win or lose, this is it. You're going to retire after this fight. Is it more mentally? Is it physically? Can you give us just some insight on how you came up with this decision?
You know, I don't know. It's just physically, I feel like I can keep going for another couple of years, but it does tax on you mentally, as you know, as you get older. As I've gotten older, it's been tougher to get through training camp as healthy as I want and in as good a shape as I want. So mentally it's tough, but honestly, it's just it's time. You know, I'd like to spend a little more time with my family and kids and not miss as much stuff as I'd like, because I'm having to train or off at a fight somewhere. But you know, I've loved this sport for a long time, and I've been blessed to have had a career as long as I have, and you know, turning 46 next week, and you know, I don't know, how much more would you like to see me?
Well, happy birthday. I'm sure the fans would like to see you a lot more. Dan, it's very rare that a fighter or athlete in any sport can go out, number one, still on the top of their game, but also making that decision to walk away from it. Was that a consideration too, that, hey, this is your choice and now you can move on to a new chapter in your life?
Yeah, honestly, I was ready to move on after the last fight, and just depending on what opportunities I had, and obviously this is an opportunity that I wouldn't pass up, and you know, I feel good about having this fight be my last fight. Win or lose, I'm going to make sure that I give everything I have and make sure that I have no regrets. And you know, and that's all I can do in life and in this sport. And I'm going to make sure that I take full advantage of this opportunity and put him on his ass again.
And then one quick question for the champion, Michael Bisping. Michael, as you come into this title fight, you've worked long and hard in this business to capture that belt. But you're facing, in your first title defense, a guy who's ranked number 12. Is this a situation where you have a lot to lose and not much to gain? Talk about that.
Yeah, of course there's a lot to lose. You know, I'm very proud to be the world champion. I plan on hanging on to this for a long, long time. Me and Dan have history. There's a story there. A lot of people want to see it. The reaction to the fight when it was teased on social media was very big. So, you know, I get a chance for revenge. I get to get that one back off Dan. And if I lose, yeah, of course, come on. It doesn't matter who it is. If I lose, I lose. I lose the belt. Simple as that. So that's not good. So regardless of the opponent, I got to win this fight, regardless.
Okay, and just a quick question for Dave. Dave, there was a report today that several tickets for 202 have been, their price has been slashed. Can you just give us an update on ticket sales for tomorrow night?
Yeah, Ron, I'm happy to report that UFC 202 will be one of the top 5 gates in UFC history. We've long used dynamic pricing for our tickets, but as you can tell by the weigh-ins here today, it's going to be a pretty wild atmosphere tomorrow night. So again, one of the top 5 gates in UFC history. We're very happy.
Question for Dan. At UFC 199, and you're in the back, and you watch Michael finish Luke Rockhold, did you immediately start thinking, like, now that he has the belt, I want to rematch him right now? Or how much did it take some time to get to have that thought?
No, honestly, it didn't cross my mind at all. I was shocked that it happened and that he finished Luke in the way he did. But you know, and that was it. It wasn't. Well, I guess it wasn't too long after when I had friends and everybody else telling me I should fight him again or have a rematch. And even then, I honestly didn't give it a whole lot of thought. You know, it wasn't until steam started building with all the fans asking for this fight and this rematch mostly on social media that I thought, well, maybe there's a chance that it would happen. So, again, I think that this fight is for the fans, and I'm going to make sure they get their money's worth out of this one.
And same question for Michael. How much time passed after your victory did the possibility of a rematch with Henderson creep into your mind?
2 days. Dana called me 2 days after the fight and said, we want to do Dan Henderson. I was like, yep, sure. Line him up. I owe him one. Fred Flintstone's going to get knocked out. Captain Caveman's going to go into retirement. All good.
And one final question for Dan. After the UFC 199 press conference, Michael and Luke Rockholder are jawing at each other, and there's a video of you kind of looking over your shoulder, giving them like the eye. What was going through your mind as you witnessed what was going down?
It was just entertaining for me. Obviously, I had friends and family waiting for me to get out of there, and they were bickering back and forth, and I was waiting for the whole thing to be over so I can go, and it was just, at least it was entertaining a little bit, but yeah, it was funny. That's about it.
Thank you.
Take a couple more.
Dan, over here. You obviously beat Michael Bisping at UFC 100. You mentioned you're a little bit older now and you're close to retirement. Where are you physically and mentally compared to where you were when you beat Michael Bisping then?
Physically, I feel great. You know, I've had a great last couple of years where my body's feeling really good. And, you know, mentally, I've always been right there where I need to be. So that's never been an issue. You know, I've improved since then. I'm sure he's improved a lot since then as well. And you know, but my power is still there, and I think I've proven that over the last couple of years. And you know, it's just a matter of making sure I put it in the right place.
If you do beat Michael and become the UFC champion, would that be your #1 accomplishment in your career? You've had some big wins over huge names. You've won a championship before. Would that be the big standout moment in your career when you look back at everything?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be very memorable, and it'll definitely stand out. You know, I can't say if that weighs more than the winning the second Pride belt when I had that. You know, but it's definitely be right there with it, and you know, for me, it's the last goal that I had for myself in the sport, and to finally be able to accomplish that's going to be, you know, a great way to finish my career.
And one for Michael. Michael, GSP has re-entered the USADA testing pool. It's a fight that a lot of people were talking about. If you do beat Dan Henderson, is that a fight you'd potentially be looking at?
Yeah, why not? If GSP wants to come out of retirement, if he's finally grown a set of balls to come and fight again, beat Anderson Silva, beat Dan Henderson, beat Luke Rockhold, beat GSP, yeah, why not? Of course.
Cool, thanks, guys.
All right, with that, guys, UFC 204 Saturday, October 8th. Tickets on sale September 9th. We're going to go ahead and square them off.
No time to rest. Just do your best. What you hear is not a test. We're only here to make you. We're only here to make you. We're only here to make you. We're only here to make you go. Gotta make it on time. Brightest star gonna be the guide. Gotta get you to the other side, to where the butterflies and where the peace resides. The first 5 minutes for the 15 of fame. 5 seconds for you saying my name. I'm deadly sharp shooting the game. Gonna hit you in the soul, execution is aim. Get together and we building a fire. Clear smoke and it's taking us higher. Hands up, everyone is one. If you see yourself making it, you see in the sun. Metropolis on the edge of control. They take our money, but they won't take our soul. That ain't gonna do it no more. Won't do what we told, and we ain't gonna fold. We hold up. No time to rest. Just do your best. What you hear is not a test. We're only here to make you. We're only here to make you. We're only here to make you. We're only here to make you go. 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 Can't think, can't sleep, can't breathe. Can't think, can't sleep, can't breathe. Everybody jumping out of their mind. Everybody going out of their skins. Everybody jumping out of their mind.
Fighting Alistair over him is just going to be a great opportunity for me. He's number 3 right now. It's very important to beat Alistair over him and take his place.
The Pitbull, the former UFC heavyweight champion of the world about a decade ago. It's unheard of for someone to bounce back the way Andre has.
I want to so bad fight for the title and I want to so bad to be a champion again, but for me it's more important right now to beat over him. And I can wait for the title, I don't care, I just want to beat over him. That's it, period.
Alistair Overeem. When you talk about decorated mixed martial arts fighters, they don't get much more decorated than this man.
Overeem has great kicks, very heavy punches, and have to be ready for this.
Oh my goodness! Alistair Overeem by TKO!
No doubt I have more heart than Overeem, but I have to remember that in the heavyweight division, you know, everything pretty much can end by one punch.
Oh! He's got it! Andre Arlovsky has done it!
I hope so. It's going to be a very exciting fight for the fans. Overeem is going to be very smart and very accurate, and I'm going to be very smart and accurate too.
Oh, Arlovsky caught him! Oh, back fist! It's over! Unbelievable!
That fight's not going to hold 5 rounds. I will knock his ass out.